Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Oddities video. Alright, one last entry here based on one of your newer suggestions. This one having to do with yet another video involving a disappearance of the person, much like I did a couple of days back involving the disappearance of Zachary Ramsey. This one has to do with a woman, in this case, who disappeared a good number of years back, but to this day the whereabouts of her are still unknown. Normally I wouldn't have focused on another disappearance video, but considering that there have been multiple sightings of this woman thereafter over the years, lots of missed chances too, it just pulled at my heart, so I wanted to go ahead and share it here, because if there's any chance that any of this, it's always good to help out when it comes to this particular disappearance and see if anything can ever be found of this woman. And it has to do with this. You're looking at a picture of her now. Her name is Amy Lynn Bradley, and essentially that's what this video is, the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. So let's go ahead and let's share all the information associated with this video, including who potential suspects are, and then again the circumstances involving her disappearance, and then finally her last known sightings, all very credible, all leading to the fact that ultimately she may have a very tragic circumstance in her life going on even today, to this very day. So what was this disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley? Well, you have to go back to 1998 specifically with regards to this tragic circumstance. Amy was a young woman who at the time was a swimmer, I believe. She was someone that was a lifeguard. She was someone who had graduated college, and this was a trip, I believe, her very first trip on a cruise. Ironically enough, even though she was a lifeguard and a swimmer, she was someone that was not really open to going out to the large sea. There's some people that have that fear when it comes to being out in the open sea like that, but in her case, her family was able to finally persuade her. So on this trip, it was her, her mother, her father, and then her younger brother. Basically a family trip. And it was during one of those days, because it seemed like she was a little bit reserved at the beginning, but once the cruise started to go about, and I guess things were happening, that's when she started opening up, and then she found herself really enjoying the cruise thereafter. But on the third night of the trip, specifically March 23rd to March 24th, that's when things took this tragic turn. Now, there's a lot of this information, it's still, like, it's not hearsay, but it's more along the lines of conjecture. Like, you can show the evidence and it could lead to conclusions, but at the same time there's not that 100% evidence, that smoking gun that'll completely link it together. That's why in some cases you might see some photos that I've had to put, you know, those little bars on there, because all they are suspected people, but at the same time nothing in terms of actual people. Much like when I was doing the TCBY video a couple of months back, that one involving the yogurt murders, there were suspects involved, but they were ultimately never proven guilty. So in essence, I can't really name much anything there. But in this case, here's what happened at that night. So Amy was in the area, I guess a disco ball of some sort, somewhere there within the cruise. Lots of people there, lots of people dancing late into the night. Most interestingly enough, though, she was dancing with a young man who went by the name of Yellow. Now again, I can't really mention his name because I don't want to risk in this case where it's he's not been found guilty of anything, but if you truly want to know his name, it's out there on the internet, so you can definitely take a look if you wanted to. But she was dancing with him, he was dancing with her, and from what witnesses described, it seemed like they were getting pretty close, like they were dancing really close to one another. They were doing a slow dance, they were even holding hands. Made it seem like, the information I was reading, like they were two strangers just barely met on the cruise itself. He was someone that was actually working with a band there at that cruise. I don't know if it was, let's say, a band with the cruise or a band that was just hired by the cruise temporarily. Like in other words, like if he was part of the cruise itself or just someone that was just hired as talent. Who knows? But in other words, she was dancing with him, he was dancing with her. They started, late into the night, and then that was it. Eventually, she went somewhere else, and then she went to her room. Her father was in the room. This was late, late at night, going into March 24th to be specific, finally into the early morning. And when that happened, her father noticed, I guess, that she was there. Witnesses described her actually going near an elevator before she went to her cabin. It was estimated around 3:30 a.m. with regards to that, although her brother later stated it was also 4:15 a.m. And with regards to that time, her father, who was asleep when she apparently came into his cabin to sleep, to go into the balcony there, he awoke a little bit, I guess around 5:30 or so, and that's when he said that he saw her sleeping on the balcony. So all is good at that point. 5:30 a.m., family cabin, there she is sleeping. But whenever he woke up at 5:50 a.m., he estimated 5:50 a.m. to 6 a.m., he looked again and he didn't find her there. She wasn't in the cabin. He did notice, though, that her cigarettes and her lighter were gone, but she did not have her shoes. Her shoes were left there on the cabin, so he presumed that she was in turn, let's say, just taking a quick walk somewhere, because she was either going to take a quick break somewhere, smoke a cigarette, maybe have a little breakfast, who knows. There are witnesses that claim around 6 a.m. they saw this girl Amy. She was somewhere in the disco as well, and she was going there drinking coffee, which kind of makes sense. Again, it's early in the morning. Maybe she was just trying to get up early enough to, I guess, relax after, in this case, the long night that she had dancing. But interestingly enough, those same witnesses stated that they saw this guy Yellow also there at the disco. He apparently brought her a dark drink, undetermined of what it is. The witnesses stated it could have been coffee, it could have been Coke. One of the, like in terms of the drink, the Coke, one of the witnesses that was there who took a polygraph test and passed when she was testifying before a grand jury was stating all of this information. Here's where things get even mysterious, though. Some people state that this guy Yellow, after he gave her this drink, left with her. Others state that she left alone. So it's kind of mysterious when it comes to which side was which. Either way, though, the outcome is still bad, of course. But if you go by the side that this guy Yellow left with her, did he do something with her drink, or did he do something with her drink and then leave her alone to meet her somewhere else? Who knows? But either way, she ultimately left that area. But that was the last known instance that people saw of her, like in terms of her existence. I'm sure if others saw her throughout the ship, to them she was just a total stranger. They didn't know who she was at that point. But at least with these witnesses recollecting their time there at the disco and then seeing this guy Yellow with this girl Amy, that's the last known instance of people recognizing who she was. Cut to a little bit later, and that's when the family noticed that, of course, she was not in the cabin. She was not answering, I guess, phones or anything along those lines. And so they wanted to see if they could have the crews help out with regards to her whereabouts. This is where things turn even more tragic, because apparently remember I was mentioning earlier, there were those missed chances, those missed opportunities when it comes to her disappearance. For example, whenever the family noticing that she was not there back to the cabin, they wanted to have the ship page her. At this point in time, at that early morning, the ship apparently had not allowed anyone to leave the docks. So they wanted to make sure that she could be paged while everyone in the entire ship was still on the ship itself. So it makes sense, because if they're thinking, okay, somebody kidnapped her or she was going to in turn run away, there was no chance for her to do so or for the kidnapper to do so if the ship was still not allowing people to get off the ship. But here's where things turn so tragic. The cruise line decided that they did not want to have this thing paged, like the pagers turned on. Their reasoning was it was too early in the morning to do so, too early to use the loudspeakers, which when you think about it is horrifying, because imagine that was probably the best missed opportunity right there, because all of a sudden people could have on the pager system, people could have known, we're looking for this girl, she was wearing this outfit, she has this type of hair color, stuff that would easily stand out, and then that way someone could find her and then tell someone within the ship that was running it, tell them there she is, she's right there, and then she could have been found. But nope, that did not happen. It was only after until the disembarkment was allowed, where people could be able to get off of the ship to travel about the land that they were on. That's when finally the announcement was made, but it was too little too late, obviously. So finally the captain ordered of the ship a search, a thorough search, a quote-unquote thorough search of all the docks, all 10 docks, all 999 rooms, to see if someone had this woman, this Amy Bradley, within one of the rooms. But there was no sign of her, although apparently this stuff was also disputed later on, because it seems like there was not really a thorough search done by the ship's crew. Instead, it was more like of a haphazard search, which also is another huge missed opportunity. Because imagine, I'm just throwing theories out here, but imagine if she was, let's say, placed in a situation where her drink was spiked, or something was done to her to make her incapacitated, and she was stored in a hidden area until later on. Then she could have been found at that point too, if a thorough search was done, but it was not. And so that just led to another good chance of her being kidnapped. Or if she wanted to truly run away and she was waiting for the right opportunity, that could have led to her hiding in a place and not being found until she had the chance to run away as well. So another huge missed opportunity. And at that point, that was it. No one saw anything of her thereafter. The family did a huge search. They tried to talk with the cruise ship. The cruise ship, though, was apparently stalling a lot of things. This is all alleged stuff, by the way, but according to the information I was reading, the cruise ship decided it's not really in their best publicity to kind of announce when people go missing on a ship, because it just creates fear, it creates tension, it could lose business, in other words, to that ship. So they've been stalling with that information. There was someone, though, that apparently recorded this girl Amy dancing away the night with this guy Yellow. In fact, I'll include some of this information of him here from his standpoint, so I'll include the link below if you wanted to, and I'll include another link involving the main information I was reading of the disappearance of Amy Bradley. In any case, the guy that was stating this information, his name is Chris Fenwick. He stated that he was there on the ship as part of a work trip of some sort. He was there working on creating a video, an entertainment video for one of his clients, but he inadvertently caught Amy dancing with this guy Yellow on that fateful night on the disco, in the disco area. So he caught it. He realized who she was later on. He gave the tape to someone, a friend, I guess, of the family, who in turn, that friend gave it to one of the authorities on the ship. But that's the last they've seen of it, which is interesting enough, because it makes you wonder who stalled afterward on that point. Was it the cruise ship? Was it the FBI who came into the investigation as well? Who knows? But the theory goes that the cruise ship may not have placed an importance on this, because again, they don't want to necessarily have something like this impacting their business afterward. And there was even someone that contacted them from the cruise ship to kind of make things a little bit harder for them with regards to their investigation. They brought an attorney in as well. They didn't speak to the family much, but they spoke to the FBI. So in other words, they got a lot of roundabout information rather than more direct information from the cruise line, rather than getting direct help. Now, as far as the sightings of Amy Bradley thereafter, apparently, if you go with this theory, she was kidnapped from the ship, either with the help of this guy Yellow or by someone else. And when she was kidnapped, she was basically sold into slavery, sexual slavery. And the sightings involving her seem to be the fact that people have seen her in areas related to that sexual slavery trade. For example, how they see her, there's this, is because she has very distinct tattoos in her body. She had a tattoo involving a Tasmanian devil spinning a basketball on her shoulder, and she also had a tattoo of the sun on her lower back. Finally, she had a tattoo of a Chinese symbol on her right ankle and a gecko lizard near her navel. All very distinct tattoos, stuff that you couldn't just create by accident with a random stranger. It's her, in other words, if someone sees these tattoos. One of the most credible sightings was someone from the Navy who was visiting a brothel in 1999 somewhere overseas, stated that he was approaching a woman, and when he did so, this woman spoke to him in English and told him specifically that her name was Amy Bradley and she was begging him for help, that she was not allowed to leave. But it was at that point someone within the brothel, I guess, recognized that she was communicating with him with more information than was allowed, and she was taken to another room. And here's another huge missed opportunity. This guy, this army personnel, he held this information with himself rather than telling it immediately to authorities, because he didn't want to have himself get in trouble because he visited a brothel. So huge missed opportunity there too, because imagine if he could have told someone immediately, then that brothel could have been investigated, and if it was her, because apparently he stated, he looked like her and maybe he even saw the tattoos, then she could have been rescued very quickly at that point too. So another sighting was somewhere in 2005. There was a witness named Judy Malar who claimed to have seen her within a department store restroom in Barbados, again matching the very distinct tattoos on her body as well. But there have been at least shows attempting to showcase the more information, trying to see if people can find out where she is. There was an episode of Dr. Phil dedicated to her disappearance. There was America's Most Wanted as well, that dedicated to her disappearance. Finally, another show named Vanished that also focused an episode on her. To this very day, there is a $250,000 reward if anyone can find the whereabouts of her. You're looking at a picture too of what is reported as a picture of her working, quote unquote, working as a sex slave, because someone stated that they found this picture somewhere on an adult website, I guess a foreign adult website, and people say it looks like her, but clearly one can't tell like where this picture was taken from. So no known location that they could pinpoint related to that photo, but it does look like her. I mean, looking at this picture and then comparing it to how Amy looks in earlier pictures, it's the eyes that seem to match, and then the cheeks as well seem to match as well. But who knows? That's just speculation at that point. But considering how logical it seems that she was kidnapped and then sold into sexual slavery, it could be that that's her condition today. Very tragic when you think about all this, because basically for all these years thereafter, she's just been in a circumstance against her will since 1998, essentially in a horrid hell of some sort, just doing all this work, all this bad work, from her captors. So bad stuff all around. But still, with this suggestion, hopefully with this information, if anyone knows anything, sees anything later on, there may still be hope. She's been missing now for a good while, almost 2 decades to be specific. So who knows? There's always still that hope that she is still out there somewhere to be found. So, alright everybody, that's all the information associated with this disappearance. If anyone has anything else that is very important that missed, that would be interesting to state, please post those comments below. That would be very good to hear for everyone. So, alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.